Hello everyone, this is Tip Top Gaming, here today with another MTG video. Now today I'm showing you a black screen to warn you. I'm about to show you leaked Throne of Eldraine cards, so if you do not want to be surprised, or if you want to be surprised when they start unveiling them, you should probably click off the video now. Alright, why don't we jump into this? So on Reddit, there was this big leak that happened where I'm not saying these are 100% real, they look very real, and I'm going to talk about how real they could be. There are actually more than these 5 cards, these are just the first ones, and we'll see. The logo looks pretty real, however there are some things that maybe don't add up, but we're going to get into that. So I'm going to first treat this video like it is a normal spoiler videos, like these have been officially announced, and so I'm just going to break down each card and how I think they are. Alrighty, the Acheron War is a 4-cost enchantment saga. So basically when you play it, you get the effect of number 1, then every upkeep you add a counter to it and do the next effect, or you do the effect equal to the amount of counters on it. And then once it gets to 3, you destroy it. So, when you first play it, you gain control of target creature as long as it remains on the battlefield, so 3 turns. Then, number 2, until your next turn, creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able. So, turn 1, you steal something of theirs. The next turn, you make them attack you. Then, the third turn, each tapped creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. So this is kind of a red board wipe. So you steal something of theirs, which you might want to steal something weak. You'll see why here in a second. You steal something of theirs, you make them all attack, therefore tapping all of them. You maybe kill something in that attack. Then, when it comes back to your turn, because they'll be tapped, you'll trigger the third part, and then each tapped creature, including yours, deals damage equal to its power. So basically, you're board wiping anything that doesn't have vigilance, and that its power is greater than or equal to its toughness. So that's an interesting card for 4. I think that's pretty good. You get to steal something for 3 turns, 2 turns, I guess. I don't know how much play it's going to receive. It is a red card. I don't know if that's really going to fit into a red deck. Next, we have Dalakos, Crafter of Wonders, which is a legendary creature. So this can be your Brawl commander or your commander, and you can tap it to add 2 colorless and spend this mana only to cast artifact or activate the abilities of artifacts, and equipped creatures you control have flying and haste. So this would go in like a weapons deck, a blue-red weapons deck, which I don't know if there's going to be many of those, but you definitely put this in there. I guess it could also go in a blue-red artifact deck, but I don't really see this being that great of a Brawl commander. It could see some play in Commander. Next, we have Labyrinth of Skophos, which says tap, add a generic, and then pay for and tap to remove target attacking or blocking creature from combat. If I'm not mistaken, there was only one effect like this in Standard, and it was actually rotated out recently, so it's interesting to see it again. In an all-colorless deck, you definitely run one of these. You might want to run one of these in a Commander deck, or a Brawl deck, but I'm not sure it'll see much play outside of that. Next, we have Ashiok's Erasure, which I think this spell is awesome. It's a 4-cost enchantment with flash, and when it enters the battlefield, exile target spell. So, any spell at all, and it's at instant speed, so that basically counters it. Your opponents can't cast spells with the same name as the exiled card. However, if they can destroy this enchantment, they get to the spell doesn't go on the stack, instead it goes back to their hand, so they do have to pay the mana cost again. So let's say they're playing a Persistent Petitioners deck. You could then cast this, exile the spell, and then they can't cast any more Persistent Petitioners. I love this card. It's basically a +1 costed counter spell, but it stops them from casting things with the same name, which is awesome. Then we have Treacherous Blessing, which is a 3-cost enchantment, and when it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards in black. That's crazy. But whenever you cast a spell, you lose a life, and whenever it becomes the target of a spell, sacrifice it. So if you can, play this and then sacrifice it with something, I guess it's okay. It's a little gimmicky. You might want to do it as not a finisher, but I guess if you have the life to spare, I guess you could do it. I don't know if this is going to see play. I could be highly underestimating that card. Next, we have Phalanx Tactics. By the way, these were all rares. Then we have Phalanx Tactics. Target creature you control gets +2/+1 until end of turn, and each other creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn for 2. So I think this would totally go in a Selesnya type of deck where you have lots of creatures, or a token dump deck. But I don't see a lot of those in Standard right now with all the board wipes. But yeah, it's interesting. And then Banishing Light. So I think this will take over Prison Realm. Prison Realm sees a lot of play, and it can only hit creatures and planeswalkers, and it sees a lot of play because it costs 1 less. So I think this will totally see a lot of play, even though it doesn't have the whole tapping ability that Conclave Tribunal has, especially with Ixalan's Binding not being in Standard anymore. This will see play. This is a reprint. I've seen this card before. My friend has a enchantment deck from the last Theros block, and we're going to talk about mechanics here in a second. You'll notice that we've already seen 4 enchantments. Then we get here, and this is where we start seeing some more interesting things. Aliros Enraptured, which it enters the battlefield tapped, and it doesn't untap if you control a reflection, and it creates a reflection. I don't know why this is so great. I guess it's 3 cost, and you get a 2/3 and a 3/2, which, it's the reflection. But you can only use 1 at a time, so I guess in the long run this is good. It's just kind of underwhelming as a legendary creature. I'm going to go back to it in here in a second. Then we have Threnody Singer, which is a 2-cost creature siren with flash and flying, and when it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -X/-0 until end of turn, where X is your devotion to blue. Alrighty, I'm going to explain why these two are so significant. First off, the one on the left is an uncommon legendary, and we saw this in Dominaria, and I think we saw a couple of these in Throne of Eldraine. I'm not sure. I don't know if that means they're going to become more normal, or if they're like, well, we just added Brawl to Arena, and Dominaria cycled out. Let's have a legendary focus set, because what is similar between this and Dominaria? A focus on legendary, at least based on the uncommon one. In sagas, so like legendary creatures, sagas, like all this cool stuff. And in a way, a incentive to play mono. They had those 3 color costed, really powerful things like the Goblin Chain Whirler and the green one. I'm forgetting the name, but it's really annoying. Steel Leaf Champion. And so it's also encouraging you to play mono. Now, I love mono. Well, I love mono, but I don't play it that often because it's not that powerful. However, Devotion really incentivizes you to play mono. So let's hope that the cards in Devotion are good. Then we have another saga, meaning it's not just a random one-off. It says, Scry 2, choose a card name. When you cast a spell with the chosen name for the first time this turn, draw 2 cards, and then look at the top card of each player's library. It's okay. I mean, it costs 2. Scry 2, which, I mean, could be interesting. Then you get to choose card name, and then the next turn, you actually get to do things. So, technically, this could be a pay 2, Scry 2, wait a turn, wait another turn, draw 2 cards, then look at the top player card of each player's library. I think it's an interesting card. I don't think it's a dud. I think this could be interesting in, like, limited, but I don't know how much standard play it's going to see. Then we have more enchantments. Underworld Dreams. Whenever an opponent draws a card, it deals 1 damage to that player. I love these effects. They allow you to build some really fun decks where everyone's drawing lots of cards. So I'd love to build a deck around that. And then minions return, flash, enchant creature. When it dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. So a couple things to note about this. You can enchant someone else's creature to gain control of it, basically, if you kill it. And this costs more than something else currently in Standard. I believe it costs 1, but you can flash it in. I don't know if that's going to see that much play. I think it's more for Limited, where I'm assuming enchantments are going to be a major theme. At the end of this video, I am going to talk about the... I'm going to talk briefly about my thoughts on this, and then I'm going to do a separate video covering the mechanics, and I'm going to do a video covering all the new Commander stuff. There's a ton of news today, of course, and I'm super busy today. So, of course, they did that. Hero of the Revel, which is a 5-cost 4/4, and when it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 token creature that says this thing can't block. And whenever you cast a spell that targets him, creatures you control get +1/+0. So, I think that's interesting. I don't know how else it's going to do. Furious Rise, it's a 3-cost enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card until you exile another card with Furious Rise. That's interesting. So technically, if you like the card but can't play it and you can destroy this enchantment, you could do that. It's an interesting way to draw another card each turn in red. They've been doing that a lot with the exiling thing. Dream Stalker Manacar. This is where we see another interesting thing. Enchantment creature Manticore. That's awesome. It's a 3-cost. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, it deals 1 damage to any target. That's pretty good. It says first spell, so that's kind of lame, and it's only 1 damage. But if for taking out small little things, I could see this being useful in Limited, or just dealing 1 damage to an opponent. Then Dream Shaper Shaman. is a 6-cost enchantment creature, Minotaur Shaman. So Minotaur, I know there's a deck going around like that in Commander. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 3. If you do, sacrifice a non-land permanent. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library and to reveal a non-land permanent card. Put that card on the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So if you can put an enchantment right on the battlefield or a creature right on the battlefield, this is pretty awesome. Now, the enchantment creatures don't really mean they have a super big advantage. They actually can be hit by more removal. However, there is more interaction there. And this is a crazy effect. Although you could end up hitting, it does say non-land, you could end up hitting your, if you're playing this in a Brawl deck, your Arcane Signet, which, I mean, wouldn't be a complete dud. But you do have to sacrifice an non-land permanent, so I could totally see this going in as like a late game finisher for like a sacrifice kind of deck, like a Rakdos thing. But you do have to pay the mana, so it's not super crazy. It is just a uncommon. Then we have Hydras Growth. It's a 3-cost enchant creature, and it enters the battle. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on enchanted creature. Again, you can enchant an opponent's creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, double the amount of +1/+1 counters on enchanted creature. Oh my god, I love enchantment or +1/+1 counter doubling. This is really fun. I could totally see this going into a traditional Simic deck. I don't know how well those are going to do in Standard, but I love that. I'm totally going to build something around that. Wolf Willow Haven is a 2-cost enchantment aura, an enchant land. Whenever enchanted land is tapped for a mana, its controller adds an additional green, and then you can pay 5 and sacrifice it to create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. Activate this only during your turn. So this is kind of lame. This is basically Nissa's ability, but on 1 land, and I guess if you need an emergency blocker, you can get rid of it, but I don't generally see that being worth it. It's kind of lame. And then we have a Chain Web Arachneer, although, by the way, it is an enchantment, so if you are trying to, you know, do stuff with that, that could be interesting. Then we have a Chain Web Arachneer, which is a creature spider, 1/2 with reach, and when it enters the battlefield, that deals damage equal to its power to target creature with flying and opponent controls, and escape 5. Exile 4 cards from your graveyard, and you may cast this card from your graveyard for its escape cost. Then it escapes with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. So, a new mechanic! Escape! Woo! I think this is new. I don't think it's ever been printed before. But, basically, in your graveyard, you can pay 5 and exile 4 other cards from your graveyard and cast it. Over and over and over and over again. And this thing actually enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. So that's interesting. Next, we have Warden of the Chained, which is a 3-cost, gruel-colored creature Minotaur Warrior. So Minotaurs are here again. Trample, and it can't attack unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater. That's kind of lame. Moving on. Hero of Knicks Born. It's an enchantment creature, human soldier, and when it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. And whenever you cast a spell that targets it, it gets +1/+0. So that seems like it might be a little mini like sub-theme in here, is when things target things. But it's also an enchantment creature, which is interesting. Enchantments are clearly a theme here, which is how it was last time in Theros. And Devotion was also a thing in Theros last time. So it looks like we're just reprinting old Theros. Thundering Chariot is a 4-cost artifact vehicle, first strike, trample, haste, and crew 1. That's awesome, I guess. I mean, first strike, trample, haste for 4, and you have to tap a 1/1. I'm not sure how great that is, but it could see some play. Then we have, oh my gosh, I love these. They are not exactly lands, but I think to go with the devotion theme, they did this for the lands, and I think they look beautiful. They're all done by the same person, yeah, and they look awesome. Now, I didn't mention this before, but THB is the set code, and it looks like there's about 254 cards. Then we have a cycle here, which, I'm sorry about that, which are basically a bunch of flash and enchantments, actually 1, 2, 3 costing, and they do things when they enter the battlefield, and they do things when you sacrifice them. So when it enters the battlefield, either draw a card, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or search your library for basic land, put it on the battlefield, tap, shuffle your library. And then you can pay 3 and sacrifice it to either Scry 2, Scry 2, or Scry 2. Okay, so they're all Scry 2. So you basically get an effect, and then you can sack them to Scry 2. Now, this does increase your devotion count and your enchantment count, so this could be super cool. Then this one is a 2-cost called Hydras Carry. It's a creature, plant, and tapped, add 1 mana of any color. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, add 2 mana of any color instead. So a lovely, I mean, I don't know if this is better than Paradise Druid. I think it's kind of up there. being able to create 2 mana of any one color. However, it doesn't have the hexproof, which is kind of nice. Then we have Elspeth. Alrighty, guys. I may have titled something like Elspeth, woo! But, the video. But, this is a 4-cost. Now, this is the full art, so clearly they are doing the full art thing again. Version of it. And it is a 4-cost Legendary Planeswalker Elspeth. And, by the way, it only has minus abilities. They don't have any way to plus, which may be a reaction to Oko. I don't think so, because this is probably all done before then. But up to 2 target creatures you control each get +2/+1 until end of turn. Then you can create 2 white, 1/1 white creature tokens, and you can gain 5 life. However, she has escape, meaning that you can keep casting her if you keep exiling 4 cards from your graveyard. Woo! Alrighty, now I'm going to talk about the authenticity of these leaks. Let me, first up, by the way, it looks like what happened here is that they got their hands on a bunch of boosters for Theros Beyond Death, and they opened them, and this is what they happened to get. Like, if I were to guess, it would probably be 5 boosters, unless one of these are foil, then maybe it's only 4. But I would like to mention a couple things. First off, there's like a 5/6 up here. Wow, I can really zoom in on that. Yeah, there's a 5/6 there. You guys can't see that. Up there, and I don't believe there is a 5/6 in this set of cards. So that means either they have more cards, or these are just non-things. So either they have a lot more cards, or it's just different. And then, if you guys saw it up here, this is Elspeth right here. But I'm just going to talk about why I don't think these leaks maybe are real. I think they look real, and I wouldn't doubt if they were real. But one thing, so we have sagas. We have uncommon legendary creatures. Now, I'm going to count enchantments as a theme. Alright. Then what else do we have? We have enchantments. We have devotion. So this is already 4 things. And then if you want to count enchantment creatures, because that's unique and not in every set, so that's 5. And a vehicle, I'm sorry. And escape. So that's like 7 different things. I find that very hard to believe, but if that's true, maybe they're counting enchantments and enchantment creatures and sagas all as enchantments, in which case it would only be about 4 mechanics, but that's still a lot. Sagas are, or maybe they're trying to make sagas a more permanent thing, and like maybe there's only a couple per set. They're not like part of the mechanics. Either way, these could be real, they could be fake. This video has gone on way too long. I mean, there's a lot to cover. And if you guys want to see my breakdown of the mechanics, I will be doing a video on that here shortly. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.